Hello everybody, welcome back to Soul Studios. I am your host Soul, and we have a new look today. We have a new look forever, or at least until I decide to change it again. To put it very, very simply, I grew out of the old brand. The opossum is my life now, and now it's your life too. I hope you enjoy it, because it's sticking around. I'm very attached to the possum. Yes. Possum is the embodiment of me, whereas the one before was a character I made specifically named Soul, but it didn't really feel like me. It kind of felt like a performance thing. But that's what I'm going to talk about right now because I want to get into this video. So, today we are talking about tracing. The good, the bad, everything in between. And for today's speed paint, I actually decided to go back and draw or redraw an old art piece of mine using the original art piece as reference and doing certain what's the word for it? Aspects of tracing, using certain aspects of tracing. So let's just get right into it. Tracing, when brought up in the art community, can mean several different things. I think recently it has taken on much more of the negative effect. When someone says they've traced something, your immediate thought is generally that they have went and stolen someone else's art. This is not always the case in tracing, but just how it is in today, in modern art, and especially with young artists starting out, it can be something that can be a bit of a problem. Tracing can actually be used as a learning tool when you do it properly. Tracing to learn is more just getting vague shapes. It especially helps with anatomy and things like that. A better tool is referencing. The difference between the two is with tracing, you will take a picture, you will put it on your canvas, you will go on top of it. You will trace out the base shapes for your drawing. This is a really good learning tool just to see where things go or where things are supposed to go. But I also think it's kind of sort of useless. I think it's good if you have like a certain pose that you really want to get down, but also in the same way you could just use referencing. Referencing is when you have a photo, you are not tracing directly from on top of it. You've got it on a screen somewhere, you've got it just popped up. And you will look at it, you will draw your own thing, you'll look back at it, you'll draw your own thing. It's kind of like trying to copy something, but without directly tracing the lines. And it is a really good art tool just to start learning where things are supposed to go, how things are supposed to look. Like I said, it is really useful in anatomy. The issue with tracing is that 9 times out of 10, when someone, or at least when I've noticed someone using the word tracing, they're not talking about the educational tracing. They're talking about the blatantly taking someone's art, putting it on a canvas, tracing it line for line, maybe changing a few lines, adding different colors, and passing that art off as your own. This, children, is known as stealing and is not good for anybody. For one, if you get caught and say like the artist is big, you're done. If you get caught and you continue to do so, you're still done. If you get caught and don't learn your lesson, you're just a horrible person. They say mimicry or something like that is the best form of flattery. I personally don't believe this. I think referencing it is a good form of flattery, but outright copying someone's work and passing it off as your own can be really problematic, especially when you're profiting off of it. I see this a lot on TikTok where someone will trace over someone else's artwork. I have no idea how you get away with this. And then they'll get a bunch of views and likes over it, only for us to find out a couple weeks later that they just traced over someone else's artwork and that person has not been getting the credit they deserve the entire time. Now, there is such a thing as tracing over someone's artwork and giving them credit, like as if you were using it as a base. This still isn't great. unless you get explicit permission from the original creator. It's just all around not a good practice. Like I said before, tracing can totally be used for educational stuff. I used it for this to get the pose right. I still tweaked a lot of it. Like I said, I would use it just to get base shapes. Poses are really hard to do sometimes and really hard to recreate. Using traces for stuff like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Using tracing as an educational tool with credit given to the artist, there's nothing wrong with it. Like I said before, the problem is when no credit is given, you're profiting off of someone else's artwork, and that's it. Do you want to be known as the art theft? Do you want to be the art theft? Nobody wants to be known as the art theft. If you want to be known as the art theft, I don't know how to help you. Keep doing what you're doing, but don't, because that's awful. It's truly awful. I, thank goodness, have never actually had the displeasure of having my art traced as far as I'm aware. I do post a lot of my art on Pinterest, so who knows? There is probably a board. Someone has taken all of my art and is tracing off of it right now. Please no one do that. I have my ways of finding out. Google reverse image, Google search exists, and you can literally take a photo, put it in there, and it will bring up a bunch of photos that look like it. That's actually how I found out a lot of people are tracing. It is really easy to do. That's also another reason not to trace. It is really easy to get caught if you know how to look for it. Another thing with tracing is that when you trace line for line over someone's art, it looks like you traced line for line over someone's art. Now, to be fair, I've only seen this with kind of beginner artists or people who don't actually have much artistic ability. And what happens is the lines look really shaky because you're trying to focus so hard on drawing them perfectly. Whereas real art lines are kind of bleh. If you've looked at any of my art, if you've watched any of these all the way through, my line art is disgusting. If you look really closely at all of that, it's horrific. None of the lines are perfect, and you don't want the lines to be perfect. That's not what art is about. I mean, some people have that style, and it is really pretty, and I am jealous of those people, but I am not those people. Traced art just looks like someone put all of their time and focus into stealing something. I didn't really mean to go on a mini rant about this, but hey, here we are. So that's really all I have to say about this. Y'all stay safe, drink some water, remember to breathe. I'll see you in the next video.